It's prom night, a night meant for celebration, memories, and fun. But for one young girl, what started as a magical evening quickly turned into a nightmare. Imagine standing there in your beautiful dress, excited for the night ahead, when suddenly a bully, someone who's tormented you for months, shoves you in front of everyone. The crowd gasps, and for a moment, the world feels like it's standing still. The tension is thick, and you can feel the eyes of everyone in the room on you. What do you do? For one black girl, this wasn't just another high school drama. This was her moment to stand up, not just for herself, but for everyone who's ever been pushed around, made to feel small or underestimated. But what she did next, well, it left everyone speechless. Her response was so powerful, so unexpected, that the entire room went quiet. Everyone was waiting for her next move. Was she going to crumble or fight back? The energy in the room was electric, and you could almost feel the weight of every eye on her. What happened next changed the entire vibe of prom night, but you'll have to keep watching to see how this amazing story unfolds. Trust me, you won't believe how it all turns out. Stay tuned. To understand why this moment was so intense, you need to know a little more about what led up to it. The girl at the center of it all, Maya, had always been a quiet, hard-working student. She had dreams, ambitions, and a heart full of hope, but that didn't stop certain people from trying to tear her down. Throughout the year, a group of classmates, led by someone named Emily, had made Maya the target of their cruelty. It wasn't just the jokes and the whispers, it was the shoves in the hallways, the snickers in class, and the constant feeling of being judged by people who didn't even know her. But Maya never let it break her spirit. She held her head high, focused on her goals, and kept pushing forward. Prom night was supposed to be her reward, her chance to finally shine, free from all the hurt. But when Emily, the same girl who had been tormenting her for months, pushed her in front of the entire school, it was like all the pain and frustration of the year came rushing back. The music slowed, and for a moment, everything seemed to freeze. Emily stood there with a smug look on her face, clearly enjoying the chaos she'd just caused. But Maya wasn't about to let this moment define her. What happened next would prove to everyone just how strong she really was. As the tension in the room grew, Maya stood frozen, her heart pounding in her chest. Emily's smug grin seemed to grow wider, but it wasn't just her. The whole room seemed to shift. Some people looked away, embarrassed, while others eagerly waited to see how Maya would react. It felt like the weight of the entire prom was on her shoulders. Everyone, from her closest friends to strangers who had never spoken a word to her, was watching. Maya's fists clenched, but instead of retaliating with anger, she took a deep breath. But this wasn't just about a single moment. The weight of every insult, every shove, every cruel word that had been thrown at her over the past year felt like it was suffocating her. Maya had spent countless nights crying alone, wondering why people couldn't just see her for who she really was. She had dreamed of standing up for herself, but now, standing there, the reality of the situation hit her hard. How could she respond? What would it mean for her if she finally fought back? Across the room, her best friend, Jasmine, was watching with a mix of concern and pride. She had always been Maya's biggest supporter, but even Jasmine was unsure of what would happen next. Would Maya stay calm? Would she let this moment pass? Or would she finally take a stand? Meanwhile, Emily's friends were already whispering and giggling, anticipating the drama. They had made Maya their punching bag for so long that they probably thought this was just another way to break her. But Maya had changed. In the weeks leading up to prom, something inside her had shifted. She had begun to realize that she wasn't as helpless as they made her feel. What had once been a girl who always kept her head down was now someone who was slowly starting to understand her own strength. As Maya looked around the room, she saw all the eyes on her, not just from the bullies, but from everyone else. The quiet girl who had been pushed to the edge was now in the spotlight. Her next move was about to send a message, not just to Emily, but to everyone who had ever doubted her. But just as Maya took a step forward, ready to show the world who she truly was, something unexpected happened. A voice, strong and clear, cut through the tension. It wasn't Maya. It wasn't Emily. The room went silent as a new figure entered the scene, someone who had been watching from the sidelines the entire night. What they said next would change the direction of the night in ways no one could have predicted. The voice that interrupted the tense silence didn't belong to anyone Maya expected. It was Damien, a senior who wasn't part of the popular crowd, but had always been kind to Maya, even when everyone else chose to look the other way. His presence in the crowd had gone unnoticed until now, but his words had the power to shake the room. He wasn't one to get involved in drama, but his tone was firm, full of conviction. "You don't get to do that," Damien said, stepping forward and locking eyes with Emily. The crowd shifted, the whispering growing louder. Maya wasn't sure she was imagining it, but for the first time all night, it felt like someone was finally standing up for her. Emily's smile faltered, her confident posture slipping just for a moment. She had always been the one in control, the one calling the shots. Now, there was something in Damien's voice that made her hesitate. Her friends looked around nervously, unsure of how to react. The room, once filled with noise, now felt like a pressure cooker, the heat rising with every passing second. Maya could feel her pulse quickening. Was this really happening? Damien, who had always been on the fringes, was now standing between her and the girl who had tormented her for so long. He wasn't just defending her, though. He was challenging Emily's authority, calling out the cruel behavior that had poisoned their school for months. But even as the crowd seemed to shift in Maya's favor, the fear was still there. She hadn't forgotten the months of being pushed down, of being labeled as weak. What if, despite Damien's words, Emily came back even harder? What if this moment, this brief spark of hope, was just a fluke? Maya glanced at her best friend, Jasmine, who gave her a small nod, her eyes full of encouragement. Jasmine had always been there, cheering her on when things got tough, but even she couldn't predict what would happen next. There was too much on the line now. Maya's every decision would be watched, every move scrutinized. Damien's voice cut through the tension again, quieter this time but even more determined. "You don't get to decide who is worth respecting. Not tonight, not anymore." Maya's heart thudded in her chest. The room was holding its breath. Every second felt like it stretched longer than the last. What would Emily do now? Would she back down, or would she double down on her cruelty? Maya took another step forward, the weight of all the eyes on her heavier than ever. She was no longer just a victim of Emily's bullying. This was her chance, the moment where she could reclaim everything that had been taken from her. The air was thick with anticipation, and Maya's hand trembled slightly. She knew this wasn't just about her. It was about every person who had ever been pushed aside or silenced. As the tension reached its peak, Maya took a deep breath, ready to make the choice that would either break the silence or escalate the battle to something no one would be able to forget. The clock seemed to tick slower with every passing moment. What would Maya do now? The world was waiting for her next move. Just as Maya gathered the courage to take another step forward, the unexpected happened. Emily, who had been glaring at Damien with fury in her eyes, suddenly broke into a cold, mocking laugh. It wasn't the response anyone had anticipated. For a moment, the room went still, everyone waiting for her next move. "Is that what you think? You really think you can just walk in here and act like you're the hero?" Emily sneered, her voice sharp, cutting through the silence. Her eyes flicked over to Maya, her expression twisted with something far darker than before. "You're so pathetic, Maya. You're nothing without the people who pity you." Maya's stomach dropped. The words stung, cutting deeper than they should have, even though she knew they were nothing more than empty taunts. Emily's cruel smirk only grew wider, and Maya could feel the world closing in on her. It wasn't just about her anymore. It was about every single moment Emily had chipped away at her confidence. But then something truly shocking happened. Without warning, Emily's face flickered with hesitation, something Maya had never seen before. She quickly glanced over her shoulder, as if checking for approval from someone in the crowd. Maya's heart skipped a beat. She followed Emily's gaze to the back of the room where a group of students were gathered, watching the drama unfold with the same curiosity and anticipation as everyone else. Leela had always been a shadow hanging over Emily's life, always the one who seemed to have everything together, everything under control. But now, as Maya watched her sister's expression falter, it became clear something deeper was at play. Leela had seen enough. She didn't smile, didn't laugh, but her gaze lingered on Emily with a chilling intensity that sent a ripple of unease through the crowd. For a brief moment, Leila locked eyes with Maya, and in that split second, Maya caught a glimpse of something: regret, shame. Emily, caught off guard by the unexpected presence of her sister, took a shaky step back. The confidence she had so proudly displayed moments before now seemed fractured. Lila's presence had changed everything. No one had expected her to show up at prom, let alone get involved in this confrontation. The room was still. The music, once thumping through the speakers, seemed miles away. Maya, still standing at the center of it all, felt the weight of the moment more than ever. The people she had feared for so long were now unraveling in front of her. Emily, the bully, was no longer in full control. But what did it mean that Leela was here? What would happen if Leela spoke? Would she defend Emily, or would she do something no one expected? As the crowd watched with bated breath, Maya's heart raced even faster. The stakes had just been raised higher than she could have imagined. Emily was no longer the only force in the room. And Maya, she could feel her moment slipping further out of her grasp. She had no idea what was about to unfold, but one thing was certain: the final confrontation was coming, and it was going to change everything. The tension in the room was unbearable. Maya stood there, her breath shallow, as all eyes shifted between Emily and Leela. Everyone was waiting for one of them to speak, to break the silence that had now stretched on too long. Maya's hands trembled, and for a moment she almost wanted to step back, to let the moment slip away. But she couldn't. Not this time. Leela finally moved, slowly, deliberately, making her way toward her younger sister. The entire room held its breath, unsure of what would happen next. Emily's face had gone pale, and her usual arrogance seemed to evaporate in the presence of her older sister. As Leela stopped next to Emily, her gaze never left Maya. There was no smile, no comfort, just a steady, piercing look that seemed to say everything without uttering a single word. Emily, Leela's voice was calm, but there was a sharpness to it that cut through the tension like a knife. "You've gone too far this time." The words landed in a room with a weight that no one had anticipated. Emily's eyes widened, her mouth opening and closing, as if she was searching for a response but couldn't find the words. Maya could hardly believe it. Was Leela really standing up to her own sister? Emily's defiance began to crumble as Leela's steady gaze held her in place. "I've watched you tear people down for years, and I've let it happen because I thought you could handle it. But this is different. You've crossed a line." The words hit Emily hard, each one seeming to shatter the perfect image she had worked so hard to build. But just when Maya thought Emily might break down completely, there was a sudden shift in the room. Emily's expression twisted, and she seemed to snap back into her usual self. "You think you can just tell me what to do?" She spat, her voice suddenly sharp and defensive. "You've always been the perfect one, haven't you? The golden child. Well, guess what? I'm done with living in your shadow."